than Simone's, but we're going to have to see if that does come to fruition, because there's going to be a Volcarona face-off yet again. Gabriel bringing the Volk of his own Bastia Legion along its side, and Theotime actually bringing the Incineroar, already having an impact on the Bastia Legion's damage output.
Yeah, I really love this lead from Gabriel, actually, because you're suddenly in that position where you're threatening two fire types with your really powerful Bastia Legion. And what that's going to mean is that it's going to force some defensive play from Theotime, whether that's going to be a Protect or it's going to be a Terror. And especially if Gabriel can kind of get Theotime to really spend that Terror really early on, it's going to make the rest of that game so much easier, which is kind of how Theotime played his previous match yesterday as well, where he kind of forced the Terror out early from Dorian and then was able to kind of use those resources to kind of win out from there. So the question is, though, what does Theotime do? Does he try and go for the Terror immediately, or does he maybe pivot around a little bit more? Maybe bring in a Rillaboom, for instance?
Yeah, it's most likely going to be that Rhythmic. It's a Super Fake Out Bro Part 2 inclusion into this turn 1 of Game 1. Now, that means, of course, the Grass Seed has been procced, so +1 defense in this Volcarona if it's allowed to be, you know, to the point where you've got the Intimidate drop on the Bastia Legion. It's sort of equivalent to like half the damage that it would normally be able to take. So there's a good case that Theotime might not even go for the Terastallization straight away.
No, indeed, and that'll be a really good play too. But actually, you see, yeah, the Terror Fairy on the Volcarona here instead, going for that big heart because it loves its trainer just that so much.
Ooh, all right, and Wave Crash will be targeting that slot. It's going to deal so little damage onto this Volcarona, just going to show why you've got the multiple offsets to be able to absorb that damage. And Quiver Dance actually revealing Theotime's Volcarona to potentially be faster than Gabriel's, which of course will be immediately following suit. But all of a sudden, David, we've got Theotime with that Rillaboom on the field, directly threatening the Bastia Legion and maybe potentially forcing a defensive play.
Yes, definitely forcing a defensive play. However, Theotime doesn't really need to worry a lot about this Bastia Legion, right? Because we know it's locked into Wave Crash, and we saw how much damage it did, which is not very much. So I'd imagine, yeah, Theotime doesn't really need to use this Rillaboom. You might as well switch out, maybe try and get in another opportunity to go for more Fake Out, or Bastia Legion to threaten the other Volcarona, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, as we're actually seeing the Bastia Legion staying in, going for the Wave Crash, clearly trying to prioritize getting as much damage onto the Volcarona as possible. This is a great way to be able to not let it run out of control, as we see a second Quiver Dance being set up by Theotime, and Gabriel might even go on the offensive right now. No, it's just going to follow suit with that Quiver Dance, because at this point, it's sort of the case where, sure, Theotime is getting those smooth little switch-in, switch-out interactions, already revealing all 4 of their Pokemon, but Gabriel's gotten so much damage onto this Volcarona, and this may invite an attack from the Volcarona itself now.
Yeah, so it's getting really low, and as you say, we need to start getting out that damage before the Volcarona starts leeching its attacks too much. So yeah, with the amount of low health from Theotime's end, it's really kind of pressure to start making the most of those boosts. But the Volcaronas on either end here have both gone for 2 bouts of Quiver Dances with no other stat changes, so they're kind of equal to each other. But yeah, Theotime's a little bit more pressure to actually start using it too. And the other key thing as well is once Bastia Legion has now come in on Theotime's end, it's Choice Scarf, yes, but the Volcarona on Gabriel's side has +2 speed, so it actually might be able to outspeed the Bastia Legion, and with enough power behind that Terror Blast, it might actually be able to get that 1-hit KO. But the only thing we're going to find that out is when the turn plays out.
Yeah, as we do have the switch out of Bastia Legion, Gabriel, like we said, sort of wanting to bring in that disruption and of course the Intimidate onto the Bastia Legion, allowing the Bastia Legion to not actually deal as much damage, as most likely will be going into this Volcarona on Gabriel's side, forcing the Terastallization finally, as you definitely want to be able to maintain the position of, if you can start 1v1ing against the Volcarona, you've got more HP available, and Theotime needs to be very cautious with the amount left for themselves, as the Terror Blast is going to be going into that Incineroar, so well switched out there. I think preserving the Bastia Legion is so crucial in this matchup, as the Heat Wave, it's not enough to pick up the KO onto Theotime's Volcarona, but it allows the Wave Crash to now be dispatched onto it, just bring it down to 130 hit points, and there it is. It's the Flame Body activation, 30% of the time upon contact. Unfortunate for Theotime in that scenario, halving all of the damage output of this little fish.
Yeah, and as you can see from the grassy terrain recovery turns there, yeah, as we already know, the Bastia Legion is still the slower, but compared to Gabriel's Volcarona there too. So yeah, a really key burn there, because we saw how Gabriel used his own Bastia Legion to deal consistent wave crashes into that Volcarona, bringing it really low. And Theotime's Basque Legion is now just going to be doing nothing, just a really sitting fish. Absolutely useless right now. Intimidate and the burn. So at least your team switching in out might be able to mitigate that Intimidate slightly.
Yeah, and that's sort of what you need to be able to do. Reposition the board to the point where you always have that Pokemon alongside the Volcarona to be able to offer that utility, the disruption of the fake outs, the repositionings in order to have more of an offensive piece right next to the Volcarona and sort of oppress and force misplays or defensive plays from the other side of the field, as that's what we're exactly seeing with that Volcarona saying, hey, I do not want any of this beef right now. The Volcarona is very close to getting KO'd, but Gabriel being able to read into that brings that Rillaboom in order to have the subsequent fake out available and sort of force the Volcarona down to either staying in or trying to go for a double protect.
Yeah, a brilliant play, honestly, from Gabriel there. Rillaboom consistently usually faster than most Incineroar and can be trained to be as faster than even max speed base point Incineroar too. So yeah, a really kind of good pin here, assuming Heat Waves can connect here. But Gabriel can also maybe just go for the Terra Blast instead. You can kind of fake out safely into the Volcarona, Terra Blast the Incineroar to deal a decent chunk of damage. Yeah. No KOs will happen there, obviously, and that does open up Team to be able to go on the offense with their own Incineroar here, which does have access to that knockoff and that party shot.
Oh, there it is, a speed interaction though, shows that the Incineroar moved first. Heat Wave following suit, picks up the KO on the Rillaboom. Volcarona being brought down to 94 of its hit points. The question is, Gabriel, have you stuck with the single target? Yes, you have. You do not want to risk a miss. Go for the Volcarona. Does pick up the KO. It is so low HP. You have neutral offset of the stat boost gained by the Quiver Dance. Sure, there's a critical hit, but we know that doesn't matter at that HP range. And all of a sudden, Theotime's main sort of setup sweeper now out of game one.
Yeah, it is. And looking at the rest of Theotime's team, you've got a Rillaboom, which is okay, I suppose, now that you've got the Terra Fairy commit onto the Volcarona. Grassy Glide, good physical damage that can come out from there, but you've already spent the Terra on your own Volcarona, so you can't go for that Terra Fire to be able to resist the moves that this Volcarona can unleash. Right. So you've got to really think about how you'd actually dish out the rest of the damage you need to, because this Volcarona outspeeds absolutely everything. It can continue to protect and kind of heal up from grassy terrain that has just been set up by Theotime as well. Yeah. And so it's looking like a bit of an uphill battle given how much HP this Volcarona has. So saying that though, this Basque Legion is still on the field as well. So you need to either respect the Volcarona or the Basque Legion, which will either KO your Incineroar or go down to the Rillaboom at the same time. So I think Theotime needs to really make a read at this point. Where is Gabriel going to target? Where can you protect as well? Because that's the only way he's going to get into it. Yeah, and we're going to have to see how this unfolds, as Gabriel always had that free and safe switching of the Incineroar, get that Intimidate on both physical offensive Pokemon with that duo, whilst we have Theotime actually switching the Rillaboom out, wanting to bring that more offensive Basque Legion on the field, knowing that at least it can try to focus down on the Incineroar, maybe take that Heat Wave quite nicely. You want to be able to allow the Rillaboom safe passage for the end game against this Volcarona, because realistically, you don't have anything else that could pick it off, and you need to be able to rely on the Rillaboom in a better, more advantageous board position for yourself if you're Theotime. So yeah, a good play here from Theotime to kind of just bring that Rillaboom back, knowing the Basque Legion would maybe go on the defensive here instead. So yeah, a really good position. However, this Volcarona is still really fast, and it's still really bulky. You've still got that grassy seed boost, remember. So those physical hits are still not going to do very much, even if it's coming from this Rillaboom and the Basque Legion. But something we can remember, though, is that the more KOs Theotime takes, the more powerful the last respects comes on this Basque Legion. So if Gabriel does end up not targeting that Basque Legion, then it could get off a very powerful attack. Yeah, and I think that's a great observation too, because at this point, you just need to be able to really review the current state of both the Basque Legions as well. Gabriel has a very, very healthy one. At this point, may even be able to survive a Grassy Glide, dependent on the training, of course. But we're going to have to see how that unfolds, because the Basque Legion over on Theotime's side will be switched out. Incineroar allows the
I'd say, intimidate onto the Incineroar if there's going to be a focus into the Rillaboom, which at this point would make sense because Gabriel's Incineroar does have Flare Blitz, unlike Theotime, which does not. But no, it's just going to be the safe Basculegion being brought in for the subsequent turn as we have the Heat Wave double connecting, not picking up the KO on the Rillaboom, unfortunately for Gabriel's side. But the Woodhammer, this is the real question. Is it enough to pick up the KO? It is not. 13 hit point survival says not today, not in this game. And Gabriel has so much offense going for their side whilst having the Incineroar that could be switched in.
Cool as a cucumber is Gabriel there. I feel like he must have known that he was going to survive that, honestly, because yeah, he was just so chill in that moment. But I don't know, it looked very close to me. Either way though, Rillaboom does get away with surviving, Volcarona gets away with surviving, but now Rillaboom's looking really strong with that grassy glide pressure as well. However, with a few turns of grassy terrain recovering Volcarona, and maybe with another Intimidate from the Incineroar in the back, you could get to the point where Volcarona can then survive that grassy glide out from Theotime here. Easier said than done, however. We've seen both players multiple times kind of switch out, kind of respecting that ability to kind of play defensive to start with too. But if you're tier team, maybe you want to preserve it.
Yeah, and seems like that is exactly the case, given we will once again see the Basculegion being brought in sort of like as a sacrificial lamb to an extent. You want to be able to sort of get some use out of it, given that it is burnt and it doesn't have that much. It still does have, in order to be able to safeguard the other pieces, and that's exactly what we see in this interaction. No Heat Wave being dispatched there because the flip turn is enough to pick up the KO. Will rotate the Incineroar back on the field right now. Sure, there's no Intimidate that will be, I'd say, influenced and forced onto the Rillaboom, given the way that the mid-turn interactions work and the moment that Rillaboom will come in at the end of the turn. However, you've got so many more resources available. 3 versus 1. Yeah, I don't think Theotime's going to be able to come out of this one.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, that was a really pivotal turn there. We saw Gabriel just leave their Volcarona completely open to a grassy glide that could have just come out from that Rillaboom instantly on that turn and just kind of call it, saying, you're definitely not going to go for it. Gabriel takes game 1 in this 3-game set.
Yeah, and with what fashion as well. So cool, like you said, in terms of just the calmness and the zen that Gabriel is exuding at the moment, sort of saying, right, I know this matchup inside out. I know what I need to do. I know that Theotime is an amazing, amazing player. So at least I'm able to sort of draw out how I need to be able to flow the sort of different steps and the key pivotal points of your pieces. With that Volcarona being sort of like a king or queen of the hill-esque sort of piece, whilst having all of the supporting cast by its side.
Yeah, and we've seen that kind of back and forward in our phase 1 as well. And yeah, here it is again, but using that ability to have that Basculegion in the exact right position to deal out that much damage early on was really critical here. Yeah. And yeah, that final KO on that Basculegion was really good here too. So yeah, I see Theotime really kind of anguished on some of the last remaining turns of that whole game there. Yeah, like, but when it comes down to fine margins, just as that, you need to get every single turn right when you're at this level of competition, right? You've got so many accomplished players in this tournament, and 2 of them are standing right in front of you. We've got a regional champion, a multi-international finalist on your left in Gabriel, and Theotime as well, a regional finalist and a top competitor.
Yeah, exactly that, and they're both going so well in terms of the current CP that they've been able to gain. Like we said, you know, they're vying for those awards for those finalists. Theotime came very short of being able to get their first regional major title, but you never know. This may be their day as they progress on, and they essentially have the back against the wall right now. You do not want to drop any sort of game at the moment. Gabriel has been able to force out Theotime to the point where you're going to have to really think if there's any sort of adaptations that you can make, but it doesn't seem to be the case, as we do have a mirror same leads from both our trainers.
Yeah, so exactly same lead, but obviously things can be a lot different. We saw how Gabriel's Basculegion targeted twice into that Volcarona, which means that if you do that again, you're not guaranteed to not be burnt again. And so it could be that Theotime's wanted to roll the dice a little bit here this game, saying, right, yeah, if you go for the same play, you could still just get burned, literally, in this sort of set as well. And that could really pivot things around because we saw how that Basque Legion was really good at taking KOs throughout the game and just really putting a thorn in Theotime's side in terms of its plan. But on the face of it, Theotime has the faster Volcarona.
Yes.
So in theory, he should have a bit more of an advantage here, especially given his Incineroar is also faster than Gabriel's Rillaboom.
Yeah, as we're actually going to see the Volcarona being withdrawn for the Politoed. Wow. And we were just talking before, David, about maybe Politoed's a Game 2 adaptation, but not what I would have thought when you're in the lead going into Game 2, rather than trying to readapt with a game loss. So very, very interesting sort of bring in order to maybe be able to trap that Volcarona in, expecting the sort of setup of that Rillaboom being brought in, saying, okay, well, surely you just want to go ahead along the lines of Game 1 that we saw, but Gabriel has such great potential to go on the offensive right now. That's exactly what we're seeing with the Terra Water commit of the Basque Legion. It's surely going to be going into the Volcarona. The Volcarona most likely is going to have to go for the Quiver Dance. You don't make the play of switching the Rillaboom in if you're not going to be able to do it, as there's a Terra Fairy commit as well from Theotime's side. The question is, you are at -1 attack. How much damage will this Basque Legion go and deal onto the Volcarona? It's in the rain! It does not pick up a KO, showing how valuable the Grassy Seed truly is, but that is so much damage, especially accompanied by that weather.
Yeah, that was a massive, massive hit that Gabriel was able to push out there onto Theotime's Volcarona. Yeah, really denting it in just the one turn. Rather, it took 2 turns for Gabriel to do that in the last game. And crucially as well, no burn on that Basque Legion either. So a really, really well done play there. And also, see, the rain is up now, right? So suddenly the Volcarona, even when boosted, is not going to be doing very much with those heat waves anymore. No. So the focus is now maybe more on this Rillaboom to see what it can do, which now is also not really pressured to go for that Terra Fire either, if Gabriel brings in that Volcarona later on again too. So yeah, being not the Terra Ghost anymore, it's not going to be immune to Fake Out, and definitely wants to go on the defensive.
But the targeting is going to be so key from Theotime's side right now, henceforth why Gabriel's brought the Volcarona into the Basque Legion slot, hoping to be able to get a Grassy Glide commit into there, maybe pick up a cheeky burn. But no, Gabriel actually opting to go for the double switch here, making sure that there's no super effective damage dealt onto both of his Pokemon as the Fake Out does come out. And there's the Flame Body onto the Rillaboom. Damage output half. Not what Theotime wants to see. You can see the dismay in their face as the Quiver Dance has now progressed on. Once again, we've got a +2 all around Quiver Dance Volcarona.
Yeah, we do. So that is a really, really good burn there for Gabriel. I was saying how like Rillaboom's going to be really important here. We need to deal with the Basque Legion and both the Politoed now. But yeah, with that burn, it's just looking so much easier for Gabriel in this matchup, particularly when the burn actually halves the power of your moves rather than halving your attack stats, so you can't even crit through that damage.
Some would say that Gabriel was trying to fish for a burn there and was able to get a catch, as Incineroar now being brought onto the field from Theotime's side will be able to get an Intimidate drop or an attack drop onto the Rillaboom itself, as you've got this interaction of, okay, I'm going to protect my setup sweeper and bring in the support, the disruption, should I say, on the other side for the subsequent turn. Fake Out, of course, but this gives Gabriel the opportunity to go for a Quiver Dance of their own. Sure, we know that there's no Terra available for Gabriel's Volcarona to be able to utilize Terra Blast, but we've seen time and time again when it comes to a Volcarona face-off, or dance-off, some would say, then you get to the point where you've got so many Quiver Dance boosts, Terra Blast actually starts dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, it really does, and that consistent fairy damage is something that's often lacking in this format as well. So when your Volcarona can be that fairy offense, when it's really fast and really strong, it's just really good neutrally to pretty much everything. Yeah,
exactly, as the Fake Out will be targeting down the Rillaboom, and now Theotime starting to go on the offensive. This is a +2 Quiver Dance Volcarona. Terra Blast into the Rillaboom, dealing just about half of the HP, and Gabriel now set up their own second Quiver Dance. Both of them sort of directly having a face-off right now, and like we said, this is why it's so key to be able to better position your utility support on the other side at the appropriate time.
Yeah, definitely is here. Now, interestingly, we've got a matchup of those two Volcaronas with the same amount of boosts here as well. But crucially, like in game one, Theotime's Volcarona is on less HP. But you can see, though, it's healed up quite a lot, actually, from when it first took that wave crash. Almost healing up half of what that damage was already. So the Grass Terrain is really paying dividends here, and it does have a lot of boosts at the moment, too. To now the point that it should be able to outspeed this Basket Legion once again, critically getting those two boosts that kind of secures its ability to do that. And when you've got that ability, suddenly the Basket Legion provides a lot less pressure here, particularly when Gabriel has actually already committed the Terra Water onto it as well, meaning that any fake out from either the Incineroar or the Rillaboom is going to be able to target it as well. So Theotime backing these against the wall, but this Volcarona is looking actually pretty strong now. Yeah,
it is truly starting to become a bit menacing, and that's sort of what we expect from the Volcaronas of this sort of Accord. Terra Blast going into the Politoed. This is a +2 special attack, and Politoed is known to have so much special defensive fold. It takes so much damage. Terra Blast now actually neutral, normal typing of course, from Gabriel's onto Theotime, dealing, I'd say, respectable chip damage, just something above the degree of chip damage at that point, maybe 20-ish%, whilst most crucially, Theotime goes for the parting shot. Now Gabriel's Volcarona is only dispatching +1 special attack damage output.
And now the Basket Legion comes in, and just as the rain kind of goes down as well, which is probably good at this point, more so for Gabriel, to be honest, because, that Basket Legion is very strong, and it's hit on the physical side, of course. And as we know, Gabriel's already spent their Terra on that Basket Legion that's in the back, so this Volcarona cannot resist those water moves now. Thanks to the Grass CC, though, you should be able to take on a few hits, but what do you do going forward here? You can see that the Pyrax on the other end there is getting a little bit low, but you need to continually deal damage into it, otherwise it's just going to keep healing back. And what can you deal damage into it? Basket Legion on your end can just be outsped. It's probably your own Volcarona that you need to kind of keep dishing damage into. Hence we saw that Terra Blast earlier, but just wasn't doing a lot of damage. I think we want to see another Quiver Dance.
Yeah, and I think Gabriel's really seeing the utility of being able to have that Politoed preserved, or at least that second slot preserved, because there's no Incineroar to be able to switch in order to lower the damage output of the Basket Legion, but also be able to have a subsequent fake out available too, as we see the Heat Wave not quite enough to be able to pick up a KO onto the Volcarona, and the flip turn trying to focus down on that secondary slot there, get that pivot going, most likely bring in either the Rillaboom or the Incineroar to be able to get that back and forth pivot action going, which is so crucial against Gabriel's setup.
Yeah, that was a really cool turn for Gabriel, to be honest. Yeah, that was absolutely perfect because, obviously you can see Theotime was predicting the Volcarona to maybe go for the Protect there and kind of get that Basket Legion back out. But now it's so perfect because Basket Legion has locked in now to that very much weaker flip turn move, and it's not even boosted by the rain at this point either. And Theotime has to go for that again this turn, which really frees up Gabriel's Volcarona here to be able to go for another Heat Wave, which the Pyrax on the other end is very much in range of now. So if the Volcarona wants to kind of do anything this turn on Theotime's end, it's probably going to be taking that Heat Wave.
Oh, and there's a Heat Wave miss onto the Volcarona of Gabriel. So it's a double miss. That's not what you want to see, especially because you feel like the Basket Legion would have been able to dispatch off the Politoed. So crucial there. Theotime absolutely upset from that interaction. No wonder anybody would be in that case. Flip turn though, focusing onto the Volcarona from Gabriel's side. Another burn! Just to put salt on the wound. Unfortunate there. And it's starting to look like so many resources available on Theotime's side have just been expended right now. Gabriel has been able to have such great board positioning, but also get a couple of super crucial flame body burn interactions there that have just halted all of the output potential from Theotime's side.
Yeah, a really excellent turn, obviously, there for Gabriel, getting that double miss there. That Heat Wave had connected on Gabriel's Volcarona. Volcarona would be down, and it wouldn't be there to go for that then subsequent Heat Wave and knock out Theotime's own Volcarona. Such a pivotal turn there, but that is the downside of kind of putting your eggs into the Heat Wave basket. Eventually, it will miss.
Yeah, it will, and just to add even more, I'd say, salt to the wound, Whirlpool Whirlpool locked in is what I would say normally the Incineroar is. However, we know that it does have parting shot, but it has connected. Whirlpool, not the most accurate of moves, if I'm not mistaken, 85% accuracy. It does have the interaction, of course, of locking Pokemon in that are not of the Ghost typing or don't have any sort of pivot moves. But yeah, Incineroar being Incineroar always finds a way.
Yes, it will just find a way. But yeah, like even without Flare Blitz on this Incineroar though, it means it's a lot harder to kind of bring into Volcarona with a Terra Fairy matchup. Obviously this Volcarona now is very much in range of a lot of attacks here, but yeah, I think with a nice safe protect here on this Volcarona, it should be able to take any sort of fake out and be able to kind of use something for the following turn here. So I think this is what Theotime is predicting.
Yeah, bringing the Rillaboom in will allow you to be able to get that subsequent fake out available aside from the Incineroar. Now, maybe trying to get a back and forth sort of interaction switch up here as no. Gabriel saying, right, I know what I need to do. I need to play it safe and sound. I've got the advantage. I'm aware of it. I do not want you to get any sort of cheeky pivots going. Look at the style point, self-parting shot on its partner to force an interaction of, hey, I'm going to get my Basculegion in at the same time as the Rillaboom because I expect you to go for the double protect. That was such a sick play.
Yeah, I love that actually now. And now you have that position where you can actually use your Basculegion versus a Volcarona that is faster than your Basculegion, right?
Yeah.
Because the Protect has been spent, and now it's very much unlikely to get another one. So Fake Out plus Water Move or anything really into that Volcarona is pretty safe now.
Yep.
And the only thing that Gabriel can do to save that is switch out Volcarona, and then you give up all your boosts. So a really, really well choreographed play from Theotime there. Obviously with the sacrifice of actually lowering the attack stat even further of this Rillaboom here. But if your Rillaboom is just going for Fake Out, that is enough that it needs to do here. And yeah, given the burn on Basculegion again, it should still be enough to do this Volcarona. But as we'll see, there's still more Pokemon in the back of Gabriel. A Terra Water Basculegion, a healthy Rillaboom that's not kind of gone for the Terra either. Like, once that Rillaboom comes in, it's able to Grassy Glide into that Basculegion and get the KO there too. So it's still very much a little bit uphill for Theotime, given, just look at it. Like, there's just a couple of burns over the side there. Kind of like we had the couple of sleeps yesterday on Federico's team, bless him. So anyway, here it comes, the Rillaboom.
Yeah, Rillaboom, the unrivaled, especially because it's not burnt as well. It's definitely not unrivaled in that case. Fake Out will be disrupting the Volcarona, though. That's the true point of this. Last Respects is indeed enough because of the additional base power gained due to Theotime's own Volcarona. Does mean at least there's a bit more damage to be able to ensure that, even with the burn. And that is, you know, quite a tough ask for Basculegion, which did deliver for its trainer, but like you said, David, there is the Rillaboom on Gabriel's side. This is enemy, I'd say, number one, but then again, it's not really, because the Basculegion's just waiting in the back. As long as Theotime's Rillaboom has essentially been ejected from this game, Basculegion surely will be able to just wipe up the floor with this game too.
Yes, it should. However, yeah, how do you get rid of this Rillaboom? It's not like very offensive anymore because of that burn.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think because of the burn though, Basculegion is actually able to come in here for Gabriel. Because we know it should be able to take a Grassy Glide at least at this point, but maybe not a Wood Hammer. But yeah, like you need enough damage now into this Rillaboom to be able to deal with it. Last Respects isn't that powerful. You've still got the one boost because you're of your own KO'd Velcronia, so it's base 100 power instead.
Yep.
But yeah, with that plus your own Rillaboom's hit, it might be enough. But yeah, like I don't know honestly. I don't think it's going to be that close.
No, and it's not. So 37 hit point survival there. Wave Crash, Adaptability, Water Terror, Multiplier without the rain into the Basculegion. On the other side of the field is enough. Theotime now brought down to their final two Pokemon. Yes, of course, it is poetry. It has to be the double Super Fake Out Pro special, I would say, but at this point, not in an advantage situation, given the fact that the burn is so crucial on the Rillaboom. Even if, let's say, for example, Gabriel hasn't brought the Incineroar and there is an open Grassy Glide going into that slot, it's just not enough. You don't have enough damage due to the halving of the interaction of the burn.
Yeah, 100% Costa. Now, we're in a position where this Basculegion probably wants to switch out because, yeah, you need some damage into this Rillaboom still.
Yeah.
Your own Rillaboom can't do that. Your own Politoed can't do that at the moment. And so, you most likely, Gabriel's wanting to really switch out that Basculegion so you can maybe lock into Last Respects and actually deal the damage that you want to do. However, there is a way where Politoed, if you can get in and go for a Perish Song, that could be pretty good as long as you've maintained all three of your Pokemon. Yep. But again, that looks a little bit tricky when your Rillaboom is really on its last legs here. And with Theotime with a Fake Out turn this time, the pressure is really on to be able to just fake out Basque Legion and then go for another move into this Rillaboom, which might be enough for a KO, or you double into the Basque Legion with a Grass Leaf, because either way you'll get a KO on the point, going all the Basque Legion.
Ooh, okay, the Basque Legion did stay in. This means Theotime might actually be able to get away with this. Going for the Wood Hammer into the Basque Legion slot is going to be enough at the half damage output. You can see Theotime really hoping that it may be the case. Politoed sure will be able to be brought in, but Gabriel opting to not switch it out could be quite crucial right now to this end game situation of game 2. Woodhammer not going into the Basque Legion, makes the read and goes and picks up the KO onto the Politoed, but this allows for a free switch in of Gabriel once again having fake out online, accompanied by this Basque Legion, which is now further powered and bolstered due to the rain being present.
Yeah, no, it's looking quite good now, honestly, though. But I mean, Theotime has now denied the ability for the Basque Legion to switch out, switch back into last respects. But yeah, given the U-turn on this Rillaboom, which is a little bit unusual, almost everyone's running high horsepower instead of that slot. Yeah, you've actually been able to deal a consistent amount of damage where you can, yeah, as you can see, Gabriel locking in very quickly there.
Yep.
The safe fake out wave crash.
That's it. It makes the most sense as the wave crash will be able to move first. It targets the Incineroar, and of course, was there ever any doubt it picks up the KO? Gabriel pushing through even with a style point critical hit there, which absolutely did not matter, forcing this Rillaboom now to be on its lonesome self. And going up against the Basque Legion and Rillaboom, even the Rillaboom having U-turn, there's no way out.
Yeah, absolutely no way out now. Yeah, Gabriel has played this so well, but it's been so close so much of the time. Imagine without those burns on Theotime's end, it would have maybe been a very different game here. But yeah, the writing's on the wall. Battle cancelled. Gabriel Agatti, your winner of Swiss Round 9.
What a way to go about it as well. Huge congratulations to Gabriel being able to be one step closer to the top cut here in their local region. What a way. We know Gabriel, a phenomenal player. That, of course, still stands the same for Theotime, putting up a very strong fight like we sort of discussed there, David, getting quite unfortunate with the flame body, as well as the heat wave interactions too earlier on. But that's sort of the price you pay when it comes to having to run A, the heat wave on the Volcarona, and obviously B, Volcarona just being so prominent in the meta. That flame body, even though it's not a direct way to be able to get immediate pressure onto the field as an ability, it's there for the passive interaction of the contact moves.
Yeah, it's a really punishing way to kind of deal with your opponents, isn't it? Yeah, like, Volcarona would be good just on its own, even without the flame body, but it's just kind of gravy on top, isn't it?
True.
It's an amazing. And yeah, there's that turn with the double heat wave miss as well, which really pivoted that game around. Theotime would have been in such a commanding position after that if that heat wave had hit there. But yeah, that's what happens when you click your heat wave so many times in a row. Eventually it's going to miss something, and it just so happens to double miss, unfortunately.
Yeah, truly. But still, that doesn't mean that Theotime, you know, just didn't absolutely play that phenomenally in that game too, just sort of trying to understand what needed to be done. And then we did see the interaction, of course, of the Politoed being brought